Hi everyone, my name is Won-no. I'm the faculty member at Rutgers Business School. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to present our research on cybersecurity, and Arion will present one of the interesting research that we are currently doing now. So last couple of years, Arion and I did several research in the area of cybersecurity. One line of research is about firms' cybersecurity risk disclosure and also how they report their instance. So we look at whether firms' cybersecurity risk associated with audit fee and whether that SEC cybersecurity guideline and influence their reporting behavior. One of the interesting research, which I believe is about how to measure firm cybersecurity risk. I'll give you more detail in the later slide. And another line of research about try to examine or investigate threat and internal control weakness of the firm. So we apply lots of data analytic technique to identify potential threat and also look at how cybersecurity are associated with the firm's internal control weakness. And in terms of data set, we are using lots of textual data, financial statements and social security, the security policies, and also the press release. And recently, we have started using dark web data, and Arion will provide more detail about how we do the research using this dark web data. In terms of methodology, we are using several text mining technique and also the machine learning, neural network. So as an example of what kind of research we do, I show you one of the things, one of the research which I believe is quite interesting. It's about how to measure firms' cybersecurity risk. And as you know, cybersecurity is a growing threat. And because of that, and regulator and companies are concerned about their cybersecurity, they disclose their cybersecurity risk. In the United States, SEC asked the firm to disclose their cybersecurity risk annual report and quarterly reports in the section of item 1A. So these are the example of the two companies' cybersecurity risk disclosure. And as you can see, this is textual data. Quite difficult to compare, which one is better, which one is, the worst. So if you can put number like this, simply put, if you can transform this qualitative risk disclosure as quantitative risk disclosure, we can easily compare which one has more cybersecurity risk compared to their industry peer and compared to the rest of the companies. So what he did is we using advanced text mining techniques, word to back and LDA to back, and also machine learning and neural network called autoencoder. And we came up with, we proposed a way of measuring those textual data into a number. So I show you those, our output. So just give me a sec. So this is our output that applying our methodology, this is how we measure those firm cybersecurity risk and put it into a number. So this is our, that website. So anyone interested in can visit there and run it. And we put a list of the companies. And this is measured for that American airline for this example. And those one is about industry, and also those green one is about entire the US publicly trading companies. So by using this measure, we can compare whether that companies whether the company has more cybersecurity risk compared their industry peer and also in general. And also we do the topic modeling. So we came up with a risk topic, and this is the industry classification based on what they do. And so we have those paper, and if you're interested in, feel free to ask us, so I can send you those paper. And using this measure, we try to, do the research, empirical research, and also the other stuff. So I'm gonna stop in here. I'm gonna hand it to Arion. And so Arion will provide, quite interesting research what we are doing today. Arion.
Yep. Okay. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes, Arion, it's fine.
Yes, I can see it.
You can also hear me well, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, first of all, I'm really glad to see all of you. It's very great to meet you. It's been a while, right? I hope that this meeting can continue and we can talk or discuss of our research more often under this current situation. Okay, so as Professor No mentioned, we have several cybersecurity projects ongoing. So the thing that we're gonna discuss today is about our project, one project about dark web. So recently we got a partnership with a one of the biggest dark web monitoring company. So we are working with them to like understand what kind of like a data is in the dark web, and also how can we utilize this data into our research, especially in accounting and auditing. So, so the first, the topic that we're going to discuss is about the cybersecurity impact of mass layoffs in the IT tech industry. So we're going to see the cybersecurity impact from the evidence coming from the darknet market. Okay. So let me just give you like little like a background. How did we started this project? So we were just keep monitoring some kind of news in cybersecurity recently, and you know that there is a lot of event that happened during this pandemic. Not only the virus, but also there was a lot of activities going on in the dark web, and also we know that there was a lot of hacking incidents occurred in this very dark side as well. So the first thing that come up was the Zoom. The Zoom accounts were hacked, and this information was actually posted in dark web. Actually, I would not say that it was posted, but it started to trade in the dark web, and then it was retraded, and then became just a free to the public. So anyone can just access that information at a certain point. So we thought that, yeah, something is going on in the dark web. And then there was also one other part going on inside the company, inside the IT tech company. So not only the established company, IT tech companies, but these startup companies was very harshly affected by this virus, also because of the economic crisis. So one news came up from the Wall Street Journal was that nearly 70,000 Techstars employees have lost their job since March. So this was until early July, but now it's getting more higher than 70,000 at this moment based on our analysis. And the second news that we got was that ISC Secure is actually, it's kind of like an organization which governs CISSP, which is one of the cybersecurity certification, like CPA or CIA exam. And also, actually, they do a lot of a survey among their partners. So what they actually posted on their blog was that they mentioned that 47% of their actually organizations who they are partnered with mentioned that they are actually reassigning their cybersecurity task forces or teams to different kind of business core operations. So now they are actually taken off from duty from their cybersecurity tasks, and they're reassigned to business core assignments. And also they mentioned that almost 100%, there was a 100% increase in cybersecurity incidents within the firm. And they say that only a very portion of those incidents were reported to the public. So there's a lot of things going on in this market because due to the IT layoff, especially for the startup. But we have to be careful here. IT tech startup companies, even before the pandemic, they were lacking human resources. So now the lack is going more further, more getting worse because of this pandemic economic crisis. And also recently, we also got a news from the Twitter. So this was very recent, right? We did not knew this incident before we started the research project, but while we were pursuing this research, we just find out that there was an incident coming up from Twitter. It's just a few days ago, right? So what happened in Twitter was that the hacker actually had a contact with the insider in the company, and then what they did is that they obtained the user credential for the employee. So like two-step also authorization information was also leaked, as well as some kind of like a password and admin like a user ID was provided to the hacker, so they can just easily access. And you know that like Elon Musk was hacked, also Barack Obama was hacked, Bill Gates was hacked, right? So they could access to those Twitter, and they posted any kind of like post they wanted. Okay, so like a lot of things are going on at this moment. So our focus was that, yeah, we think that we have to see the impact of the IT layoff. So where can we find that evidence? Why don't we start to look on dark web? Because these days a lot of informations are actually posted on the dark web. So we started to look on these two different information for our research. So we did usually what we do for data analytics, before we started our research, we wanted to find out some kind of like an insight from the data that we have. So at this moment, what we have as a data is that we have more than 300,000 posts in the dark web from this February until July. So we have more than 300,000 dark web posts that we are analyzing. And also we had a record of layoffs coming from the press releases and also coming from other sources. We scrapped those information and we added up as a database. So what we do is that we graph this information here. So when you look at the graph on the right side here, you can see the red line. The red line is the trend of the dark web post, which contains hacking information. So this is like posts only containing hacking information. So like general like truths or information, those were excluded from our model. So we actually gathered these only posts which is contain hacking information. And also the dot line is the COVID-19 trend. So why did we put this one? Because basically our analysis period is included while the COVID-19 was prevalent. And also there is a line of the layoff. So you can see the dash line, blue dash line here. This is the line of the layoff. So you can see that until May, there was a increases on the layoff, but from May to June, there was a little like decrease in the trend as well. So what was interesting for us, so after May, there was a dramatic increase in the dark web posts. So now we also have access to the July data set. It is increasing exponentially. So it is a huge increasing going on. We think that the virus and these kind of like a pandemic is not only occurring in this our physical environment, but also it's also happening in the cyberspace. So we should actually, our interest is that we should take a look on this one and understand what is the cybersecurity threats coming on from the cyberspace, dark web, and what kind of like IT like weakness is occurring in this company as well. So I just want to briefly introduce you about our research objective. So our first objective, which is our first research question, is that we want to find the association between IT employee layoff and the data breach. So how does IT employee layoff affects data breach of the firm? So here, what we mean data breach is a firm-specific data breach. So just we try to actually measure the breach for each firm level. So, and also the data breach is counted from the Darknet market exposure. So we don't count from something else like a sabotage where it is not posted in the darknet. We actually only consider these data breach which is posted on the darknet market. I will give you more information about what does it mean on darknet market in my next slide. Okay, and the second research question is that accordingly, so if the firm has a data breach, do they actually properly disclose that breach? That is our second research question. So why do we are interested in this one? First of all, it is mandatory. The firm is required to report their breach. So it is by the New York State Department, they require 72 hours. GDPR is also in effect. They also require a firm to provide that information. Also CCPA California Privacy Act also requires the company who has like customer related to California, residing in California, to report the breach as soon as possible. They notify it. So why this is interesting for us? Because previously we did not have the information about the actual breach. So we only can know about the breach when it was disclosed by the firm. But now we can know about more better about that because we are monitoring the market where these kind of like the data is traded. So that is a darknet market that we are looking on. So going back to our first research question, why IT layoff is related to darknet market exposure, and why does it have why does it introduce more higher risk of cybersecurity breach? So we switch on to our analytic mind. Going back to Econ 101. So we try to find out a model that we can actually interpret and understand this situation better. So we went back to Gordon Loeb's model about the cybersecurity investment. So what does that model does? The model actually tells about the optimal level of cybersecurity investment to be taken by the firm. So we apply the same model. Actually, we take the same assumption from the model, and we actually represent the model in terms of human resources instead of like the capital model. So here, as you can see that this side tells you the optimal level of employment, right? So from this optimal level of employment, when there is an IT employee layoff, actually there is a reduced level of employment, and the point will actually move to the left side. But the issue here is that when you move to that the left point, actually you are taking more risk. You're taking more cybersecurity breach risk. So basically, it can be interpreted in this model where your previous cybersecurity risk taken by or achieved by your company was A, but after the reduced level of employment, your risk will actually increase to A plus B. So since we don't have that much time to actually get in detail about this model, what we're saying is that actually the firm is taking more risk by actually reducing the level of employment. This is actually very straightforward, but we just wanted to show that based on the previous model that we can also introduce this kind of symptom that actually the company is actually struggling. So based on previous literatures and previous models, and also from some empirical studies, actually the company is taking more risk. So they are taking amount of B more risk by actually taking the employment. But this is just like analytic kind of analysis. So what we want to do is that for us, our research question 1, we wanted to actually take a look deeper and then empirically examine whether, is that true? Is that true? When there's an IT employee layoff, is there more data breach in the darknet market exposure? And the second thing is that for our research question 2, we want to...
Yes. Can I ask you why you have a model based on employment? Surely capital is more likely to be applied to cybersecurity than employment.
Yes, actually, the capital, we have to do sensitive analysis here. We assume that the capital factors are actually same as the same condition as before, because there is several reason that why we think so is that the first thing is that a lot of company actually take cybersecurity, the employment insurance. So basically, because of the employment insurance, we think that their capital is kind of like a stable at this moment. The second thing is that there's a PPP loan going on provided to the company. So we also saw a Wall Street Journal article that the company has 2 different choices where they can take the insurance or they can take the PPP loan. So, but you're true. So we have to do some sensitive tests on that, where we change the capital factors and see some, do some kind of sensitive testing, how they can actually affect our results.
What I meant was in this Loeb model, I mean, I'm not talking about the coronavirus time, but in general, it seems kind of old-fashioned to be losing employment as the main driver, right? When with cybersecurity, it's investment in software and hardware, I would imagine, is the actual driver of effective cybersecurity, right?
Right. We also thought so that that is why actually we are controlling that part for IT spending or their kind of infrastructure. We also thought that that was the first our insight, but while we were actually tracking these the newses in the article, we found out that actually the firms are struggling with this IT layoff, because a lot of it's not only cybersecurity, it's not only about the software or these kind of like a countermeasure that is implemented. The huge portion of cybersecurity is actually about human management. How can they actually manage the human resources? And that is why also a huge portion of cybersecurity is called fault management. A lot of actually cybersecurity incidents coming from the human resource part. And actually it's really important to actually manage those faults coming from the human resources. So that is why we want to actually find out these kind of like effect of IT layoff in our study.
Arion, can I make a quick comment related here? So I think you made a good point, but also not all the human resources related to IT are managing the cybersecurity, right? So there is IT employees that are working on various topics, and not all of them are going to be specializing on cybersecurity. And you can, I don't think you have to really argue that employees investment, and you can try to perhaps frame your research question in a more interesting way, because also IT employees pose a risk to cybersecurity. There are a lot of hacks that happen through personal errors of the IT employees, right? They don't take care of, they don't take care of their accounts, they make mistakes, things like that. So it's also they are a risk for the company, right? So in some way, maybe it's good to clarify, what do you mean by the IT employee here? Are the ones that are specializing on cybersecurity, or talking about the IT department in general?
Right. So actually our data set is about the IT general. So it's not about cybersecurity specific. It is about IT general. So we agree that, sorry, can you please mute your microphone? Sorry about that. Yeah. So okay, so yeah, I agree with that. So basically, our test is not a one direction. So that is why our test is two direction in that way. So we don't know. We don't know whether if it's going to be used or it's gonna be replaced.
So Arion, you have about 5 minutes, so we can discuss it in later. So just keep going.
Okay, so the data set that we use is the Darknet market. So we utilize the data from the Darknet market. So what is the Darknet market? Actually, the Darknet market is located in the dark web. So dark web is the special place in the web beside the surface web that we usually utilize. Surface web is like where the websites are actually indexed. So here you can just search those websites in Google, and then you can access to those websites. But Darknet market and dark web is a little different. So dark web, you need this like a special, like a software, not a software, but actually you need those kind of like applications to access to that locations. And also the second thing is that it is anonymized. So it's not like perfectly anonymized, it's pseudo-anonymized. So in that case, you can actually, we can still track who actually posted those information in the Darknet market or blog, which is residing in the dark web, but still it has a pretty good anonymization functions embedded into that websites. So here, the Darknet market is actually basic in two types. It has like a public market where everyone can just access. And there is also like a membership-based market. So what is actually traded in this market? Most of the cases, those information traded in this market is the personally identifier information, PII. So it's like a user information, user ID, and your password. This kind of information is actually traded in the Darknet market. And also there is a special like Darknet market where you can trade internal informations. So actually this is like for stock trading on purposes. So they actually share this kind of information, insider information, firms' internal information to make better profit or arbitrage opportunities. And also there are some websites that provides like hacking instructions. So actually what we do is that we extract firm-specific employee credential information from this Darknet market. So we can actually extract a lot of information, but specific for this project, what we do is that we focus on the employee user credential information. It's like similar to the one that what happened to Twitter. So we are looking for companies like domain name, which is provided to the employee. So what we do is that we pick up the emails, which is actually the employee email for each company. So what is the benefit of this part is that we can actually analyze the data in a firm specific level. So we can point out that this information is coming this company's employee. And then we check that whether there is a password or any kind of like access information associated with that email. So this is the way that we first collect this information. And then after we make variables to count these numbers of breaches coming up. So, and then after we also make two windows here. So the first window for the timeline on the both part here, we actually have a baseline when the layoff occurred. So we count before layoff and after layoff, and then we measure how many employee informations was provided within that window, which is the ex post and ex ante of the event. So most of the cases is zero, like 0. So normally there should not be a employee information. But actually, we found that like more information than actually we expected. So I will just give you a little like overview about how many information that we actually get. The maximum number that we actually get from one company was 22,000, almost like 3,000 counts from one company. Most of the cases, as you can see from this information here, like average for darknet market exposure was like 4. So we can actually identify 4 employee user credentials. So this is the unique number of the employee information. So if one email appeared like a lot of times, actually we just count it as 1. So you can just see that, yeah, it's pretty critical issue at this moment. It's not the only case of Twitter. A lot of information is actually trading the darknet market. And also we actually counted the layoff. So we actually extracted information from the press releases, and also we look on the social media blog, and also we took a look on the LinkedIn data. And then what we do is that we count that, we identify layoff firms, and also we identify hiring firms. So actually you can just see that these are our the comparing group that we have here. So the layoff firms was counted as 432. And the company that actually is still hiring was 574. So this information includes private companies, public companies, and also international companies. So we gather those 1,000 companies, and then after we proceed our analysis. So before, I think that I'm lacking time, I just want to give you some like a brief result that we have here. So actually, I'm just showing you the research question 1 here. So finding out the association between the layoff and how does the layoff affect to the darknet market exposure. So the intuition here is that when there's an IT layoff, we think that there is a task reassignment, and also there is a internal control actually issues related to the human management and fault management that increase the firm to be more exposed to the darknet market exposure. So also because there is not that much literatures in the cybersecurity models, so what we do is that we went back to the cybersecurity 101, and then we went back, what is the most important factors that could actually affect cybersecurity. So first thing that, as you know, that we thought that firm size will be as well critical to this model. So that is why we added the total funding and IT spending on our model. So why did we put total funding? Because actually we include private company, public companies, and also international companies here. So instead of using the total asset, we include the total funding in our model here for our firm size. And also we put the IT spending. So this IT spending is not coming from the 10K or financial statements. Actually, this IT spending is coming from a third-party insurance company. Actually, they measure the IT spending for each company, including the private company, and provided to the third-party databases. So we use the IT spending. What is special about this one? Actually, this excludes like a general usage. Let's just say that like Excel license or Word license, Microsoft license, like those kind of stuffs are not included. This is only about the IT infrastructure and software related to the IT maintenance. So these part are actually included in the IT spending. So I hope that this can actually answer your question about, how can you actually control the IT spending part? Because most of the cases, cybersecurity can be also affected by these kind of software usage or like error codes, including the ITs, right? So that is the thing that we include into the control part in our equation. And also, we also thought about the cybersecurity maturity model. So cybersecurity maturity model is a kind of like a model introduced by the Defense Department in the United States here. So what they say is that as the business is more mature, they will have more cybersecurity maturity model introduced into their security policy or security operations. So that is why we also consider the business maturity into this model. So we put like two different variables here, not only like whether the company is private and public, we also put the funding stage here for the private company. So basically, we had an interesting descriptive statistic result here because that based on the funding stages, we also see a differences affecting our model as well. So if you're interested about that part, you can also mention me about that part. Ask me after this presentation as well. And also the last part we added to this model is that the sensitive information. So how many sensitive information is actually introduced into their business courses. So what we actually put in here is that first, because this is IT tech startup companies, we thought that the web traffic is a very, very important factor that can affect the cybersecurity risk of the firm. So we actually included the web visit number to the model. And also we put the number of patents here as a sensitive information. So the only thing that we got it from the previous literature was actually patents and firm size. So the other thing included was not based on the previous literature, but based on the well-known framework for cybersecurity.